What if I told you Psalm 23 isn't just a comforting verse for funerals, but a radical manifesto for victorious living? Most people recite "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," like it's a lullaby, but they never stop to realize the power packed into those words. This psalm is more than poetry. It's a spiritual weapon. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If you've been walking through fear, lack, or confusion, Psalm 23 was written exactly for you. Now let's get real. Have you ever felt like you're running on empty? Like no matter how hard you try, provision slips through your fingers. Peace is always delayed and the valley feels endless. You're not alone. David wrote these words in the middle of chaos, not comfort, which means this passage doesn't just speak to the mountaintop moments. It speaks right into the storm. But wait, here's the twist that most miss. Psalm 23 doesn't start with your effort, your hustle, or your faithfulness. It starts with the shepherd. And that changes everything, because the promise isn't that you'll figure it out. The promise is that you'll be led. Stay with me, because in the next part we're going to uncover how the shepherd actually provides in ways that can transform your life starting today. The shepherd provides. Here's the first big revelation. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Notice how David didn't say, "I hope not to want," or "maybe I won't lack." He spoke it as a decree. This is covenant language, not wishful thinking. And yet here's the uncomfortable part. Many of us live like the shepherd doesn't provide. We stress about bills, obsess over the future, and panic when things don't go our way. But Psalm 23 flips the script. Lack isn't your portion, provision is. Think about sheep for a second. They don't worry about the grass growing or where the water is coming from. Their only job is to stay close to the shepherd. That's the metaphor David is pulling on. You don't thrive because you're clever or because you hustle harder than others. You thrive because you're led. That's why he uses the image of green pastures and still waters. It's a picture of divine provision, yes, but also divine rhythm. God doesn't just give you stuff, he gives you rest in the process. And here's where it gets even deeper. When David says he makes me lie down, it implies that sometimes we resist provision. We keep moving, keep striving, when God is literally trying to get us to rest. Have you ever noticed that some breakthroughs only come when you finally stop striving and surrender? That's the paradox. The shepherd provides not just what you want, but what you actually need. And sometimes the provision is peace in the storm, rather than escape from it. But wait, the most surprising part of this provision is still ahead, and it changes how you see every valley you'll ever walk through. The shepherd protects. Here's where the psalm takes a dramatic turn. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Notice the wording. David doesn't say if I walk through, but when. Valleys aren't optional, they're inevitable. But here's the kicker. The presence of the shepherd changes how you walk through them. Fear doesn't vanish because the valley is safe. It vanishes because the shepherd is close. Think about it. Sheep have no natural defense mechanism. No claws, no fangs, no speed. Their survival depends entirely on the shepherd's rod and staff. The rod symbolizes protection from predators. The staff, guidance away from danger. It's a reminder that God is not a distant observer, but an active defender. Every unseen battle you've been spared from, every near-miss moment in your life, that's the shepherd's rod at work. And every time you felt nudged, corrected, or even redirected when you wanted to go your own way, that's his staff pulling you back to safety. But here comes the most shocking part. David says this comfort happens in the valley itself, not after it. Protection doesn't mean you never face darkness. It means the darkness doesn't own you. Sometimes God doesn't remove the valley. He reveals himself in it. That's why the psalmist can say, I will fear no evil. It's not about pretending evil doesn't exist. It's about knowing evil cannot win. And yet this isn't even the climax, because the next scene flips the whole story from survival to celebration. And it's a twist you can't miss. The shepherd promotes, and now comes the surprise twist of Psalm 23. Just when you expect the shepherd to simply guide you out of danger, David flips the script. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Notice, God doesn't just remove the enemies, He blesses you right in front of them. It's not escape, it's elevation. The valley wasn't the end, it was the setup for a banquet. The table here is not just about food, it's about honor. In ancient culture, to be seated at someone's table meant acceptance, protection, and belonging. And God doesn't just give you a seat, He anoints your head with oil, a symbol of favor and authority. Your cup doesn't just get filled, it overflows. This isn't survival anymore, this is abundance. What tried to break you becomes the backdrop for your breakthrough. What looked like defeat becomes the stage for your promotion. And here's the ultimate promise. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The psalm begins with green pastures and ends with eternal presence. That's the loop, from provision to protection to promotion. God takes you full circle. The shepherd doesn't just lead you through valleys, He makes sure you end up at His table. And maybe that's why this psalm has comforted generations. Because deep down we all long for a shepherd who not only provides, not only protects, but promotes us into His presence forever. The shepherd pursues, and here's the part we often miss. Psalm 23 doesn't end with us chasing God. It ends with God chasing us. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. The Hebrew word here for follow is much stronger than a casual walk. It means to pursue, to chase relentlessly. Think about that. God's goodness and mercy are not passive. They're on your heels, hunting you down with blessing and love. When you look back over your life, you might see moments of pain, disappointment, or failure. But if you look closer, you'll also see a trail of grace, times you should have fallen but didn't. Doors that closed only to redirect you, strength that came out of nowhere. That's not coincidence. That's goodness and mercy in pursuit. Even when you weren't looking for God, He was already running after you. And here's the climax. This pursuit doesn't have an expiration date. David says, all the days of my life. Not some days, not just the good days, all of them. Even in your darkest seasons, mercy is still chasing. Even when you wander, goodness doesn't give up. The shepherd doesn't just guide you in front, He's got your back. You are surrounded, led from the front, pursued from behind. No wonder the psalm ends with confidence, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Living Psalm 23 today. So what does Psalm 23 leave us with? Not just a poem to recite, but a lifestyle to embrace. God is not a distant figure watching from afar. He is the shepherd who walks ahead of you, fights for you, restores you, and even chases you down with goodness and mercy. That means you never walk alone. Every valley is temporary. Every battle already has victory written over it, and every closed door is just a setup for a greater opening. But here's the challenge. Will you live like you believe it? Will you walk today as if lack has no claim over you? As if peace is already your inheritance? As if mercy is actually chasing you right now? Because the promise is only as powerful as the faith that receives it. Don't let Psalm 23 just sit on the page. Let it breathe through your life. Before you go, I want to hear from you. Type in the comments the phrase, "The Lord is my shepherd." Declare it publicly, not just for yourself, but as a testimony for others who need this reminder. And if this word stirred your heart, make sure you stay with us for the next message, because the shepherd's voice always has more to say.